Okay. Well, yes, indeed. In January this year, we've issued 400 million of additional Tier 1. On last year, we've issued 500 million senior preferred. And in the last quarter of 2022, we've issued, we've made an exchange offer for the current Tier 2 maturing in 2027 for a new one maturing in 2033, and there was nothing particularly tricky about it. Now, going to your question for when a cover bond issue, the short answer to that is it's not in our short-term plans to issue a cover bond. What needs to be clear, having said this, is that this is not a matter of relevance that the cover bond may have or may not have for BCP's funding strategy going forward. BCP's remains central to anything that the bank needs or wants to do in terms of capital markets funding. We should not forget that BCP led the Portuguese banking system contribution to the harmonization of legislation effort that ended up in the cover bond directive. BCP has a residential mortgage-backed program when residential mortgages are nearly half of our loan book, and 2/3 of those residential mortgages are allocated to the bank's program. The bank's program is already updated and ready to go. So the question is legitimate. So if it's ready to go, why don't you? Or why haven't you been in the market recently, and why don't you in the short term? And the answer to that is, incidentally, is embedded in the first half of your question. The issuances we've mentioned earlier are not a matter of preference. They are a matter of obligation to meet regulatory requirements. That, in any way, adds liquidity to already a rather comfortable, to put it mildly, a rather comfortable liquidity position the bank has. That comfortable liquidity position is much a result. This has been discussed widely. This is a result of an accommodative ECB monetary policy, and not least the rise in deposits, in particular those that resulted from the closure years of the pandemic, where households were much more about saving than spending. Spending was naturally inhibited. Conditions are ever changing. The ECB monetary policy is hardening, or at least ECB as a source of funding is slowly exiting the room. Compliance of MREL requirements seems to be now entering in what we can call some sort of a steady state, where it's much more about refinancing existing issuances as they mature than ramping up increasing requirements. And most importantly, this is now BCP's program is a AAA program, which combined with the natural need to finance longer term assets, means that an issuance of a cover bond in the future is a natural and even compelling option, if not in the short term, sometime in the longer term. Well, in terms of opportunities, I can only think of a scenario where these reviews spot a fundamental shortcoming that is easily remedied by concerted action between member states. To be honest, I cannot think of such a scenario. I cannot think of anything that might require such action. What we need to remember this is a 255-year-old market with deeply ingrained practices. Much of them a result of legislation, regulation, yes, but to a to a great extent, also a result of market being sensible and responding to issues and mitigating risks as they emerge. I'll give an example. The liquidity buffer, at least in Portugal, they were around in many programs before the cover bond directive came along and made it compulsory. The cover bond directive is, as said, it's an harmonization of legislation effort only possible because it was principle based. So we should not fall into the temptation of fixing what is not broken, especially with yet another layer of legislation in a period where countries are still coming to grips and adapting to the new one that has just come out, even if in Portugal the changes were minimum. The cover bond market is a 3.3 trillion market, and in VSO, ECBC Cover Bond Congress, as far as we're concerned, is the Congress to be in. It's where investors, issuers, agencies, authorities come and meet, come to see the latest trends, come to meet who's who, exchange ideas, have investor meetings. I'm sure, with all due respect to other events, if we are to pick one, this is the one to be.